So, welcome everyone to today's Bhagavad Gita session. We'll continue from where we had stopped. That is third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Text number 23 is what we'll start today. So, in this text, in this whole section, what we are seeing is um, first of all, persons may do some activity, some work out of some desire, meaning out of some interest for fruit. That means if I do this so-called, if I do this certain work, what will I get out of it? That is the motivation of people. And then that is called as um, that is purely karma kanda, where one is only looking at fruit. Then sakama karma is one likes to do that work, and he's very much interested in the fruit, and he does that work according to the Vedic principles. So Krishna says that in this type of work where one is thinking about the fruit, and unless he gets the fruit he won't do that work, that kind of mentality is binding mentality. Better than that is one should do his activity, his work out of duty, without the attachment for the fruit. Whatever the fruit may come, one is satisfied with it. At the same time, one is doing out of duty. That is better. Nishkam karma. And then there are those who are very much spiritually advanced, and they need not do any activity because they are spiritually advanced. So for them, um, this world is just a transient place from which they have to leave. Um, so technically, they don't have to do any kind of work. They can continue doing the spiritual activity. But these self-realized souls, they still do duty. Now, why they do duty? Even they're self-realized. And the reason for that is we read, for the sake of educating the common people, they will perform their work, even though they are spiritually advanced, they are spiritually perfected. And Krishna used the example of King Janaka, the father of Sita. He said he was very spiritually, very much highly spiritually person. That he didn't had any work to be performed, but he still did. Why? Because he was a king. And second thing is people were looking at him for good examples. So if he had left everything, then that would become the example, which is not good for common people because common people are not spiritually advanced. So to educate them, to set a good example, they still do work even if they are spiritually advanced. So the point is, Arjuna, even if you want to become spiritually advanced, you should still do your work in a detached way. That is best. And then Krishna talks about himself. We read this verse. O son of Radha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planet systems. Krishna is also spiritually advanced. He's the super soul. So technically, he doesn't have to do anything in this world. Why persons have to do anything in this world? Because they want something from it. And second thing is, they are going through the cycle of karma. Now, those who are spiritually advanced and pure, actually spiritually pure, they don't have any karma attached to them. So they did not do any work. But still, Krishna says, I still do work. Why? I'm engaged in prescribed duties. And this is the verse for today. We will go with this verse. Any questions, any comments, you can interrupt me and we will discuss. यदि ही अहम न वर्तयम जातु कर्माणि अतेन्द्रितः माम वर्तानु माम वर्तमानु वर्तन्ते मनुष्य पार्थ सर्वशः. Krishna says, even though I have no work to be performed, still I will do. And the reason for that is, for if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing my prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. Now Krishna is setting that example of ideal example, and he says, if I don't follow that ideal example, then all common people won't be, following ideal people. So this ideal example in this world. Like, we are reading Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna. Now, why we are reading Bhagavad Gita? Because of um, Krishna's qualification as the super soul. Because Krishna, we know, he's the most wise person, right? All the sages, all the great personalities, they talked about him. And then we know Krishna is Bhagwan himself. For that reason, we are reading Bhagavad Gita. And for that point, any book that we may pick up in a bookstore, we always check the author, right? Now, if the author is not, uh, you know, if the author himself is very dubious, will you read it? Like, let's say you want to read something about physics or mathematics, and you pick up the book. Then you come to know this author had never, not even have any degree in mathematics or physics. Will you take that book? No, right?
No, no.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason is you look for the qualification. So similarly, we are looking for Krishna. Why? Because he's the supreme Lord, and he has set that example. When Krishna came as Lord Ram in Ramayana, he set the example of a ideal husband, ideal son, ideal king. And therefore, even today, we are talking about Ram Rajya. That if we want administration, then we should be on the same level of like Lord Ram, right? Because that is the example that has been set. So therefore, Krishna says, even though I don't have to follow anything, I'll still perform my prescribed duty because all men are looking at me and I'm setting that example. Now, parents, they have to uh, they have to set good examples, right? Why? Because children are looking at them. Teachers, teachers also have to set good examples. Why? Again, the students are looking at them. Leaders, politicians, administrators, police, army, doctor, whatever, you name the leaders of the society. They have to set good examples, right? So whether one is spiritually advanced or whether one is not advanced at all, not spiritually advanced at all, in both cases they have to set good examples. Now in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was saying that I don't want to fight this war. This is how Bhagavad Gita started. They came to fight out in a battle, but Arjuna saw that my own family members have come and I cannot kill them. If I kill them, then I'm killing my own family. So he thought, I don't want to fight this war. So he was thinking, let me go away from my duty. And therefore, Krishna is explaining him, the best is if you do your duty in a very highly spiritual platform, spiritual understanding, spiritual consciousness. That is the goal. And that is what is called as yoga, where the spiritual consciousness is highest. In that, no work will give you any reaction, and whatever you may do is perfect. Even if you reach that place, some people think that, okay, becoming spiritual means no activity. I have to leave everything and go away. But no, here is Arjuna's example, and he was told to become spiritual, highly spiritual. And he was thinking that spirituality means, oh, I don't have to do anything. I just have to go and do meditate on the top of a mountain. That's it. No more war, nothing. But Krishna says no. People like Janak Maharaj, King Janaka, he was also very much spiritually advanced, but they did perform their activities. Why? Because they still have to set good examples. Now, does that make sense? Why Krishna is saying this thing?
Yes,
Okay, we'll get into the purport. In order to keep the balance of social tranquility for progress in spiritual life. Now, some more example is given, like explanation is given, is social tranquility. If we see the leaders are not good, right, the general public becomes crazy. We are seeing this in various countries, right? Especially in our neighboring country. The leader themselves are not good. So what the general public is, they are themselves, they are blindly following the leaders, and they are also becoming like the leaders, exploitative, dishonest, and all kinds of news you can read about our neighboring countries. But to keep the balance of social tranquility, for material peace also, what to speak about progress in spiritual life, material peace also, one needs good examples, one needs a very ideal example, otherwise the society will go crazy. In order to keep the balance of social tranquility for progress in spiritual life, there are traditional family usages meant for every civilized man. Meant for every civilized man. Although such rules and regulations are for conditioned souls and not Lord Krishna, because he descended to establish the principles of religion, he followed the prescribed rules. Otherwise, common men would follow his footsteps because he is a great authority. From Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that Lord Krishna was performing all religious duties at home and out of home as required by householders. So, in Srimad Bhagavad is where the story of Lord Krishna is. 90 chapters about Lord Krishna. In one of the story, I will point it out. It's very interesting. Uh, this is the summary study of the 10th canto, where uh, Krishna is in Dwarka and he marries 16,108 wives. And each wife is independently living. It is not like one day he meets another wife and then third day another. No, no, not like that. At a time, he was able to meet everyone. How? Because he is the Supreme Lord and he can expand himself. So, in this, there is a very nice chapter which comes. Yeah, Krishna's daily activities and this 69 and 70th chapter. In case you are interested, I'll just post it in the chat. So here Krishna's daily activities are mentioned. And he was performing all religious duties, all ethical, moral duties, as a king, as a householder. And seeing him, all Dwarkavasis were performing their right duties. Okay. Utsideyor me loke na kuryam karma ched aham sankarshaya sakarta swam upahanyama imaha prajaha. Prajaha. Praja means kingdom, living entities. If I do not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds will be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. See, even material peace that we talk about, even that will get destroyed if one doesn't, if the leaders don't give good examples, if they don't lead good examples, then everything is destroyed. Varna Sankara. Varna Sankara is unwanted population. Unwanted population means the population which is not trained at all. It is not trained in morality, ethicality, religious. That is called as unwanted population. They disturb peace of the general society. We see in many South American countries, where there is a population of criminals, a lot bigger population of criminals. The jails are bigger, in South America, in the countries there, Honduras, Haiti, Peru, Chile, very terrible countries, even in Africa. So, because the population over there is not trained in morality, ethical, and even the leaders out there are not moral and ethical. Those who are interested in history, they can just go over and look over into the history of these countries, and you will find that the leader was bad, then the people were also equally bad. Because the leader himself is not following, what will people do? They will also go to ruination. Okay? In order to check this social disturbance, there is a prescribed rules and regulations by which population can automatically become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. When Lord Krishna descended naturally, he deals with such rules and regulations. In order to maintain the prestige and necessity of such important performances, the Lord is the father of all living entities, and if the living entities are misguided, indirectly the responsibility goes to the Lord. See, a child's misbehavior, misdemeanor, uh, it's blamed on the parents, right? It's blamed on the parents. Similarly, if the citizens are not performing well, it is blamed on the king or the leader, the politician, the prime minister. Therefore, whenever there is a general discard of regulatory principles, the Lord Himself descends and corrects the society. So, very famous verse Krishna says, in you must have heard this verse, but we'll just read it in fourth chapter. Oh, we are in third chapter, right? In fourth chapter, Krishna says this verse. Yeah, 4.7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharatah adbhutanam adharmasya tadatmaham srijamyaham. You must have heard this verse, right? I mean, the next verse is famous. परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. So, to destroy dushkritam. Dushkritam means those who are bad people. Bad people means those who are immoral, unethical, they are evil. To destroy them and to protect the sadhus. Sadhus, friendly people, and even the innocent and all that. I sambhavami yuge yuge, meaning I I take avatar. Avatar means, actually avatar doesn't mean the modern meaning of avatar. Avatar means to come down. I come down again and again into this world. I come down. That's what it means. Or I come in this world again and again. Yuge yuge. Meaning every millennium in the millennium. I keep coming. We should, however, carefully note carefully that although we have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord, we still have to remember that we cannot imitate him. See, we have to follow in his footsteps, but we cannot imitate him. There's a difference in following and there's a difference in imitating. Following versus imitating. Can you tell me what does following means and what does imitating means? Any thoughts that come to your mind? Following example versus imitating the person. What is the difference?
Following, following may, I mean, first, imitating means you just copying.
Yeah,
You,
you copy.
maybe that is not your behavior, okay, but
Yeah,
you are
okay,
just
good.
trying to copy.
Yeah, copy which is not your behavior or not in your capacity. Capacity also, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, and following means,
Following means just, I mean, neglect, negation of that. Like you copy things which you are. I mean, you have a separate behavior, but there are some ideology behind. I mean, there is some ideal things that you can follow from that particular person. So
okay,
you follow that ideal things. Mhm.
okay, you try to copy.
Hmm.
In following, there's a copy, but it is just trying. You in imitating, you do full copy, which is not your behavior, not in your capacity. You try your copy, and okay, okay, I'll give you example. In Ramayana, we'll take more examples. In Ramayana, what happens is all the monkeys, they are getting big boulders, big rocks, and they're throwing and they're building the bridge, right? Seeing this, a spider also thinks that I also want to do some service, but it cannot imitate, right? It cannot imitate the monkeys. So what it does is it pushes sand. It pushes sand because that's what it is capacity. So he will do according to his capacity, but he is doing the similar work, building the bridge or helping in building the bridge. Similarly, one more thing. What was that? Squirrel. Squirrel was also trying to help. So he was also pushing little rocks, small rocks. So this is called following. According to your capacity, you will try to copy. And imitating means the squirrel will try to push a big rock. And that is not your capacity. No? You do what is in your capacity. But ultimate goal is being followed. Okay. Let's say, Tendulkar. Tendulkar, great batsman, right?
Yes.
Hmm? So, what does following in his footsteps means? Following in the footsteps of becoming like Tendulkar, Then what it means? It
Yeah.
means you learn to copy him. Okay, you learn to copy him. There's no problem. You learn to copy him. You practice, right? You practice to copy him. Then what does imitating mean? Imitating means um, imitating means there you will try like Tendulkar, but not exactly. But you will fail doing that because you didn't practice. You didn't try to copy him. You just tried to imitate him, and better understanding is like um,
Adding, I mean, uh,
yeah,
following here is like you have your own style of playing cricket, but you
yes.
add Sachin Tendulkar's style as well.
It's yeah. You play your game. You play
Yeah, you
your
play.
game, your skills.
Hmm,
You cannot do exactly what Tendulkar did.
hmm,
Some of the shots you can do, but not every other shot, right?
yeah,
That's what it means. So imitating means you can't do a full copy which is not in your capacity. If one wants to imitate an elephant, he cannot because that is not his capacity. But elephant can push trees. You can at least push a plant. So according to your capacity, you will do. Okay. So why I'm telling this is because this point has come, right? Imitating. Hmm. So Lord Krishna, right? He did two types of activities. One is, let's put normal human activities. And second was extraordinary. Extraordinary, powerful in
godly.
human, yeah, in human activities, in human,
Hmm,
yeah, yeah, like you said, godly activities. But he himself is God. So extraordinary,
hmm.
powerful, very difficult kind of activities he did. So among the two, right, the normal human activities like he did was he was a king, a good son, husband, he was married, he had children,
Having
okay,
friends and playing with friends.
king, etc. I put king. So, all these normal activities he was doing. But there were some extraordinary things he did. What? He married 16,108 wives. Um,
Yeah. Lift
he,
Govardhan.
he lifted Govardhan. He lifted hill, Govardhan. When he was a small child.
Yeah, and even before that, he killed Putana. She was like
As a
big
baby, he was killing the
as a
demons.
baby. Yeah, demon.
Hmm.
Defeated Kalia also.
Yeah, he defeated
Yeah.
Kalia,
Hmm.
the snake.
I mean that is
Yeah,
that is
that is
one of the
interesting
difficult
point.
tasks. He
Yeah,
was
that is,
dancing. Yeah.
yeah, Kalia the snake, right? He defeated Kalia the
Yeah.
snake.
Yes,
Now this is a
yes.
very interesting point you made. Now this
Yeah.
will make clear, what does following and imitating means. See, there are snake charmers, there are these people who catch snake, right? Just by looking at them, one may think, okay, I can also do, and I can also catch a snake. But if they try to imitate and they use the same moves and all that, then it can be deadly, right? The snake will bite them because they are not trained to do that. It is not in their capacity. The common man cannot do, what the snake charmers and the snake catchers are doing, right? So there, if you want to follow them, then they will say that if you see a snake, what to do? You go away from it, right? And the same thing they won't follow. When they see a snake, they will go after the snake. Why? Because they're trained in catching the snake, and we are not trained in catching the snake. So for us, the instruction could be completely different. Now here I took this example of two normal human activities and extraordinary powerful activities. Now marriage is common between Krishna and we, all of us. He married 1,600 and 100, sorry, 16,108 wives. In Lord Ram's time, he married only one wife. But in Krishna's, he married 16,108 wives. Now, if someone tries to imitate this, Krishna married 16,000, I should at least marry 16. Then it will be a trouble, right, in the society. You cannot maintain one wife also, what to speak of 16 wives. Children, he had 10 children from each wife. He lifted Govardhan Hill. So, people say, oh, Krishna danced with girls, so let me also dance. Well, he lifted hill also. Can you lift a table? Can you lift a table with your little finger? No, right? So these are extraordinary human activities, extraordinary activities which common people cannot perform. So this we cannot follow in Krishna's. We can only follow whatever normal human activities we do. Okay. So imitating means imitating something extraordinary which is not in our capacity. Okay. Someone cannot become Tendulkar, but he can learn from it. And some of the shots he can never learn of what Tendulkar did, because that's what makes him unique, extraordinary. Something extraordinary in Tendulkar you cannot do. Like Tendulkar played for so many years. Not every player can play these many years, right? You know the weight of the bat that Tendulkar played with. It is very heavy bat that he used to play with. If you find out, right, his bat is one of the heaviest bats, and not every batsman uses that bat, but he used to use it. He used to like heavy bats. Not everyone used to. So you do according to your capacity. Okay. So according to our capacity, we should. Does this help in understanding, following, and imitating?
Yes, bro.
Yeah, because the thing is,
Yes, we understood.
what happens is today's society now. There are many people who stand up and say, "I am God," and they start imitating like Lord Krishna or like Shiva. Shiva took, Shiva takes intoxicants, ganja. So I'll also take ganja. There are many people who say like that. Well, Shiva took poison also. Can you take even one drop of poison? So,
Exactly.
so yeah. And then they start fooling people. Then they
Hmm.
start fooling people. They will paint a third eye on their face, and they'll say, "I am
And
Shiva," and they will fool.
and is it true, Prabhu? Is it really true that that Shiva is actually take ganja? Because whatever I heard, Shiva is one of the greatest Vaishnava.
Yeah.
He's
So
one of
I
the
have
yeah.
also not read where Lord Shiva takes ganja. I have also not read. But those who take ganja on the name of Lord Shiva, they point out some shastra. I have not read that
Uh-huh.
shastra. Yeah, they point out some shastra that he must have taken and all that. Well, even if he takes, it will be the same way he drank the poison. Just like the poison doesn't affect him, even if he took intoxicant, it won't affect. Why? Because he's a powerful personality. He's the Devata, Maheshwar, Mahadev. So Mahadev means they have that power with them. So poison could affect him, and intoxicants won't affect him. So if any Shastra come and say that he took intoxicant, but that doesn't mean you have to take it. You have to understand he's that powerful that even an intoxicant cannot affect him. Just like stuntmen. There are these stuntmen who put fire on their body, and they use this in films and all that, right? Movies. Now, if a boy thinks, oh, I can also do that, and if he burns himself, then that imitation will be dangerous, right? So he cannot follow certain things of what certain people can do. Okay. So yeah, so many people, they stand up and say, I am God, and they fool. Now we are reading Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am supreme. Hmm? And he proves that also. So there is a chapter, 11th chapter, where he shows his Virat Rupa. And then Arjuna confirms that I can see all demigods in you. I can see everything in you. Suns, moons, stars, everything in you. You are the supreme. And all the Rishi Munis were coming to you and were, touching your feet. I thought they may be doing just because, you are a king. But actually, you are the supreme. They understood, but I didn't understand that time. Now I understand it. And therefore, he says, you are Param Dham, Paramam. There's a very nice verse he uses. So the point is, Krishna proves himself in the Bhagavad Gita itself that he is the Supreme Lord. Similarly, those who say that I am God and all that, we should tell them, show me a Virat Roop. Show, open your mouth, let me see all the universes in your mouth. Krishna lifted Govardhan, you lift this small table in your hand and keep it lifted for 7 days, 7 nights. You do it just for 7 minutes or 1 hour. And then we will understand what kind of god that person is. But just because people can speak something and do some magic, they are fooling people by saying that I am god. Okay, so this we need to really understand this, because this problem that I am god and worship me is creating is a big problem all over the world. And people have been fooled. Money and then exploitation, abuse, everything happens like that. So Prabhupada is also talking the same thing. Following and imitating are not similar, are not on the same level. We cannot imitate the Lord by lifting Govardhan hill, as the Lord did in his childhood. It is impossible for any human being. We have to follow his instruction, but we may not imitate him at any time. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 33, 30, 31 confirms this. One should simply follow the instructions of the Lord and his empowered servants. These instructions are as good as for us, and any intelligent person will perform this as instructed. However, one should guard against trying to imitate the actions. We should not try to drink the ocean of poison in the imitation of Lord Shiva. We discussed this point. We should always consider the position of the Ishwaras, or those who are actually controlling the movements of sun and moon, as superior. See, in Bangalore, tomorrow Narendra Modi is coming, right? So Narendra Modi, for him, will there be any red signal from airport to Whitefield? No, right?
No.
So if somebody thinks for me also there is no red signal, and he starts breaking all the red signals, it's not, then what will happen? The police will catch him, right? Then he will say, oh, see, Narendra Modi did it, I can also do. Well, it's a position that Narendra Modi is carrying with. That makes him a Ishwara. Ishwara means a controller. Hmm? So, what to speak of the demigods who are controlling the sun, the moon? They are superior. So, without such power, one cannot imitate the Ishwaras who are super powerful. Lord Shiva drank poison to the extent of swallowing an ocean, but if any common man tries to drink even a fragment of such poison, he will be killed. There are many pseudo devotees of Lord Shiva who want to indulge in smoking ganja, marojana, and similarly intoxicating drugs. forgetting then by so imitating the acts of Lord Shiva, they are calling death very near. Similarly, there are some pseudo devotees of Krishna who preferred to imitate the Lord in Rasa Leela. So Ras Leela is where Krishna danced with the gopis in the middle of night. And they think, oh, I can also do that. So they seduce girls, the so-called gods, pseudo gods. They seduce girls and they said that I'm also playing like Ras Leela. Come. So that cheating is happening on the name of God. And we have to be very careful of this. Oh, dance and forgetting the inability to lift the Govardhan hill. It is best, therefore, one should not try to imitate the powerful, but simply follow the instructions. Nor should one try to occupy the post without qualification. There are so many incarnations of God without the power of the Supreme Godhead. So this problem, right? I am God, is not just today's problem. It was there even in Krishna's time. So in this same this thing, right? There is a very nice story. Uh, okay, let me see if I can find it out. Poundraka, this one. So this Poundraka, he came to know Krishna is Supreme Lord and he has four hands and he has Sudarshan Chakra. So what he did was he tried to imitate. He tried to imitate. So he carved out two hands, cardboard hands, and put it around his shoulders. And he started dressing like Krishna. And he was, imitating Krishna. And so this is happening when Krishna himself is this 5,000 years ago. And then he attacked Krishna's Dwarka. And then Krishna killed him. So the point is, this issue is not something new. It is even an old issue also. People calling themselves God and, fooling people. Okay. Sapta karmani अविदांसो यथा कुर्वन्ति भारतः कुर्वाद विद्वांस तथा सप्तास शिक्षिशुर लोक संग्रह. So this is a very interesting verse. As the ignorant performs their duty with attachment to result, the learned may similarly perform but without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path. Loka sangraha. Loka sangraham, for the people in general to follow in the right path, one will set example. So a learned man may also do certain activities and an ignorant person may also do certain activities. So technically, those who are not spiritual, they may also eat a food, they may also perform some activity, work, earn. And a spiritually advanced person can also do these activities. The only difference is the spiritually advanced person does it without attachment. For the sake of duty, for the sake of setting a good example for the people in general. A person in Krishna consciousness, person not in Krishna consciousness are differentiated by different desires. A Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not conducive to the development of Krishna consciousness. He may even act exactly like an ignorant person who is too much attached to material activities, but one is engaged in such activities for the satisfaction of his sense gratification, whereas the other is engaged for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna conscious person is required to show the people how to act and how to engage the result of reactions of action for purpose of Krishna consciousness. So what does this mean is, we have the Pandavas and we have Duryodhana. Now the Pandavas, Arjuna was also killing the soldiers and Duryodhana was also killing soldiers. But the purpose was very different. Duryodhana's killing soldiers was his personal desire. I want to be the king and I want to remain the king. Arjuna was, I want to fight this just war. And on the instruction of Krishna, I am fighting. So there's a difference in what the activity is the same, but there's a difference in consciousness. Like, like here, the activity is the same, fighting. But the consciousness, right, the attitude makes the huge difference. On the right hand side are the terrorists, on the left hand side is the army. We know that the terrorists are themselves wrong. Why? Because the consciousness, the purpose, the attitude, everything is wrong. It is based on wrong principles. Killing innocent people, selfish, power, like that. While the army, it kills only those who are aggressive, those who are not listening to the law, right? So, yeah, this is the difference. So yeah, the activity may be the same, but the consciousness, the attitude behind it is different. And the example by a terrorist sets, while example army man says, people are inspired by army people, right? Because they do it out of their duty, selfless duty, right? What is the occupational hazard in an army? What is the minimum occupational hazard in the army? That the person may die, right? But still they will go ahead and do their duty. They are brave in that matter, right? Now we are doing, say, engineering job or medical job, whatever. If we come to know, that if we do this job, if we get into accident, then we may die. Will we continue to do our job? No, right? Some of us may really get frightened. But the army job is like that. A simple accident can mean life and death for them. Okay. So they are not doing it for the sake of salary. They have a very different concept, aspiration in them. न बुद्धि वेदम जनयेत अज्ञानम कर्म संगिना जोशेत सर्वकर्माणि विद्वान युक्त समाचरण. So, not to disturb the minds of the ignorant people attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. So, a learned person, a leader, should not induce them to stop work. Instead, he should encourage them to do their work in their prescribed duties. By working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sort of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So, they need to advance. You shouldn't stop them by setting a bad example. Vedesha Sarvarahame Vedyo. This is the end of all Vedic rituals. All rituals performed in all performances or sacrifices, everything that is put into Vedas, including all directions of material activities, are meant for understanding Krishna. So, from the whole of the Vedas, Krishna is to be understood. Krishna says this in 15th chapter, 15th verse. 15.15 सर्वस्य चामृते सन्निविष्टो मतः स्मृतिर् ज्ञानम् च वेदेश सर्वेर अहमेव वेद्यम्. From the Vedas, I am to be known. Aham. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. So the study of Vedas should conclude who is Krishna, to understand who is Krishna and what we need, and we need to revive our relationship with Krishna. But because the conditioned soul do not know anything beyond sense gratification, they study the Vedas to that end. But through fruitive activities and sense gratification regulated by the Vedic rituals, one is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act, how to behave. Although ignorant man is not to be disturbed in his activity, a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of the Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. For fortunate man, there is no need to follow the Vedic rituals because by direct Krishna consciousness, one can have all the results one would otherwise derive from following one's prescribed duties. So there are a couple of things mentioned here is one should not disturb those who are not spiritually advanced in whatever they are doing. Indeed, one should just direct them, guide them in doing that activity. It is just like, the parents should guide the child in his study, in his activity. Whether the child is fully learned or not learned, right? Because that will keep the child engaged in a proper activity. Rather than stopping the child, one should engage and guide the child. Okay. Similarly, with the case with ignorant people or people who are not spiritually interested, people who are not so moral, so ethical, we should guide them that they follow that moral and ethicality to the best to the extent, and that's how we can keep peace in the society. Okay, that was one point. And second thing is, if one is doing direct Krishna consciousness, that is, he's spiritually pure, then he can have all the results by performing. He can get all the results if otherwise performed by following one's prescribed duties. So by following one's prescribed duties, you get some results. But a spiritually advanced person, he already get those results. But still he performs the prescribed duties just to set an example. So again, the same similar point is coming back and again. Because Arjuna is saying, I don't want to fight this war. The problem is Arjuna is saying, I don't want to fight this war. Krishna is explaining him why he should fight. First, he explains, oh, if you fight, you will go to the heaven or you may become the king. So some fruit is showing. Second, he says, uh, if you fight, then you may go to the heavenly planets. That is sometimes the goal of people, to go to the heavenly planets. And then he says, you should perform it because it is out of your duty. It is your duty to be fighting. Not fighting just for sake of fighting, but fighting for the right cause. Then he says that fighting can be done even in a spiritual consciousness. You are thinking that becoming spiritual means no work. No, it can be done in spiritual consciousness. Just like King Janaka did. Just like King Ram did. Okay. We have some time. Prakriti kriyamani gune karmani sarvasha ankara vimata kartahamiti manyate. Now this is an amazing verse. Any questions at this point? Any questions, comments?
No, Prabhu.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So this particular verse is very important. This particular section, right? It moves from another topic. So we are at 27, right? So now Krishna talked, about spiritually advanced people. They need not do work, but they will set an example. Therefore, they will do that particular job. Similarly, Arjuna, you also follow in their footsteps. Then Krishna tells that you are not the doer. This is the verse that we are going to discuss. A spirit soul bewildered by influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. Now, very interestingly, he says he falsely thinks that he is the doer of activities. In simple words, you are not the karta, you are not the doer. Now, it's this is a very difficult concept to understand. And we really do, but at the same time, we are not the doer. How come? So we'll read the purport and then I will explain. There are some very subtle points. But before that, let me just show you one picture and you may understand what does it mean. See, this is how Bhagavad Gita defines how is our body. It's a machine. In the heart, there is the soul, which is providing consciousness, the electric pulses for the pump to work. And then there is a super soul, God Himself. He's also there within our heart. Okay, He's directing or He's permitting and witnessing and the activities of the soul. The soul is using this body to perform his activities. He's using the eyes to see, he's using his hands to touch, to grab, he's using his legs to walk around, go around here and there. So it's like a car. He looks here and there, goes here, goes there, right? And this car is provided by the super soul. So if the soul is doing an activity, he's using the car to perform his activity. So who is doing the actual work of going here and there? That is done by the car, right? You are just directing the car. So if we talk of if a work is accomplished, how much was your effort, how much was your contribution? If you ask this thing, then there are various components that come. First component is the soul. The soul desires, the soul directs also. Then comes the body. The body is doing the bulk of the work. So therefore, the doership is divided between the body and the soul. Therefore, we cannot say the soul is the only sole doer of the activity. Does this make sense? If the body walked to a place, the soul definitely directed it. But did the body walk with the energy of the soul? No. That was provided by the super soul. So therefore, the soul cannot say that he is the only doer in that particular activity. Now, I'll take another example. Waiter. Now we have this excavator. Okay, let me take this picture. Now, this excavator, this driver, he uses this excavator to dig a hole. Okay, to dig a hole. Now, if I ask you the question, who dig the hole? What will we answer? The excavator or the driver? Who dig the hole?
The driver.
Driver.
We will say the driver. But did the driver use his own hands to do it? No.
No.
He used the machine to do it. So the machine is the real is the secondary doer of that activity. You may be the initiator, but the machine is the secondary doer of that activity. And then this machine belongs to a company. So the company owner can also say, I dig it, right? If this belongs to, say, a construction company, Sharma Construction Company, the Sharma Construction Company will say, I dig it. Then the employee will say, I dig it. Excavator will say, I also dig it. So who did it?
It was both the excavator and the machine.
So the real understanding is that the driver excavated it with the help of the excavator under the permission of the construction company, right? That is the whole understanding.
Yes.
So if suppose that particular digging has happened wrong, who is to be blamed?
Company is to be blamed in that case.
The
Yeah.
company.
Why the company is to be blamed when it was done by the employee of the company? Because the
Because he
company is
has given the
holding,
instruction.
yeah, company is holding the superior power.
Hmm.
See, even though the work was performed by the excavator, the work was performed by the driver, still the responsibility is given to the company. If the digging purpose was right, the money will go to the company. Right? So therefore, Krishna says, you think you did. Whatever activity we may do in this world, we think we did. But actually, we are doing like how this excavator is doing. We are using a machine to dig to do that activity. And who this machine belongs to? Supreme Lord. So ultimately, it is done under his supervision, and we are having a small independence to do it our way. Okay.
But why? But why is the case that some people are doing wrong things then?
Ha. So this driver can use this excavator as he wants. Generally, he in all legal cases he has to follow the instruction of his company, right? But he can still independently use it, and he can create mess out of it. That is another thing. But because the driver is independent and he has signed a contract saying that I am independent, but I will listen to you, but then he breaks that contract, then he becomes liable.
Then he become the doer now.
Yeah, he becomes the doer, that is there, but he's not the sole doer. We need to understand there is something called a sole doer, and to think that I'm just one of the doer. See, if the digging process was wrong, right, definitely the construction company is to be blamed, but again the driver is also to be blamed. So the construction company will, what they will do, they'll fire the driver and they'll pay the fine, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So so in simple words, if I was to do, the doer, okay, the doer is construction company, the worker, and the third is the excavator. So we can say this is the primary doer, and we can say this is the secondary doer. Excavator, we can say tertiary doer, or we can say um what to say,
That is also the secondary doer.
no, it is tertiary. It cannot independently act on its own. Okay? Tertiary doer.
Mm.
Let's keep it simple. Otherwise, we may have difficulty in just understanding what is this. So, primary doer is the sanctioner. Secondary doer, he still has independence, but tertiary doer doesn't have independence. Excavator. Similarly, primary doer, supreme soul, he's not just a doer, he's owner also. And secondary doer is the soul, and this is the body. Excavator is the body. So, soul uses the body with the permission of super soul to do any work, legal, illegal. Okay, this is the right understanding. Does this make sense? So we can, we can use the same for the excavator. The worker uses the excavator with the permission of the construction company to do the digging. Same way, the soul uses the body to do perform a work, but under the permission of the super soul. So, is the soul doer? Yes and no. What does it mean? He is not sole doer. He needs he needs he needs help of energy, okay, to perform, and permission to use that energy. See, what happens is people they say, right, I did it, and Krishna is saying you are not did it, man. Your ability is given by me, and therefore you could do it. See, as a baby, we are not able to do what we are able to do today, right? When we were babies, we are not able to do what we are able to do today, like walking, talking, and so many things. The ability is given to us, and then we do it. Therefore, we are not just the doer. We are not just a sole doer. Okay, we need some help. Okay, any questions?
Mm.
Yeah. Now the thing is, why to even understand this thing? Why? Because uh, to say that I did or I achieved. This statement is incomplete. It's an incomplete statement. And the real statement is I did / I achieved with the help of God. In simple words. Okay, this is the real statement. This is the complete statement. I did or achieved anything with the help of God. I used my God-given machine, my human body, with its intelligence, mind, to achieve a particular goal. This is the real understanding. And why Krishna wants him to give this real understanding is because people get attached to their work. People get attached to their work. A very nice example I will add to this. Let's put owner, carpenter, and wood. This is a very nice analogy. So owner, let's start with the carpenter. Carpenter builds furniture, okay, of wood supplied by owner. Can he say, let's put it this way, can carpenter say this furniture that I worked on belongs to me? Now you tell me, can he say this thing?
No.
Why? Because the real
Because
ownership
he,
belongs to the owner. Yeah, because he
Hmm.
supplied the wood and all that. He bought it with his money and he employs the carpenter to create the furniture, right? Design the furniture, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this statement, right? If we analyze the statement, what does this mean is carpenter is attached to his work. This is my creation, right? This is me in it. He's very attached to that work. Okay. So that's why, when we leave companies, the company says you cannot take this code with you. You cannot take the code with you. You cannot take documents with you. Right? And if you're attached, you said,
Yeah.
no, I worked on it. I worked on it. I put my day, night in it. The company can legally sue you. Right?
Yeah.
So this is what Krishna is trying to explain. We get into this attachment with the work where actually the real thing doesn't belong to us. If we come to this understanding, then we can do work in a very detached way. See, doing work detached of its fruit requires this understanding. Otherwise, one will remain attached to the fruit and say that, oh, if I get the fruit, then only I'll do it, right? And if we come to know, oh, I'm not going to be given the code when I leave the company, my God, why should I work? So that itself is a wrong understanding. Instead, the right understanding is I'm being paid to make the work and I will do this work, but it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the company, right? And
Hmm.
therefore, the person can be detached from his work. And then he can focus on something, he can focus on some other things like spirituality and all that. once he comes to know that actually the furniture doesn't belong to him. See, because of attachment, what happens is people are attached to what? To their possessions, family, property, name, fame, etc. Right? Because of this, they don't take to Krishna, they don't take to spiritual life because they think that, oh, this is all I want, and I need not take spiritual life where I have to give up these things. Well, we don't have to give up those things, we have to give up the attachment for those things, understanding that they really don't belong to me. I'm only temporarily using it. At the time of that, I have to give it back. And with this detached mood, then one can focus on spirituality. Okay, so this understanding is highly needed to practice spirituality. So those people who come to spirituality needs to understand this thing of attachment and detachment. Otherwise, in spirituality also they'll become attached to wrong things, and they may not fully become spiritual. Okay, and sometimes they may get too frustrated and leave it. So this is a very important concept to understand that we are not the doer, or we are not the sole doer. We cannot independently do things. We are dependent on the Supreme Lord. And when we understand our position that we are dependent, then we will cooperate. We won't do wrong things. We'll cooperate and we will work towards, you know, something that is constructive, right? Okay. Any questions or comments?
No problem.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So next week again we will continue with the same theme that we are not the doer. And that point also, just think about this carpenter and excavator job. Actually, the carpenter example is from the Shastras only. Now, let's see if we can get a nice picture of a carpenter with his creation.